Hey everyone! Have you ever stopped to think about how a country as huge as India actually works? I mean, how do you manage everything, from the biggest cities to the tiniest, most remote villages, all at the same time? Well, today, we're going to find out. We're taking a trip to see how India's governed, right down to the village level. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, let's just wrap our heads around this number. India has over 1.3 times billion people. That is just, wow. That's more than a sixth of every single person on the entire planet. So just imagine for a second, trying to make sure every single one of those people has what they need. It's a massive, massive job.
And that really leads us to the big question, right? With so many people in so many different places, how can one government way off in the capital city possibly listen to everyone's problems? I mean, the Prime Minister in New Delhi can't exactly fix a broken water tap in a village hundreds of miles away, can they?
To solve this exact problem, India has this really clever system. The best way to think about it is like a big sports team with different captains who are in charge of different things. There are three main levels of government, and we're going to break them all down.
So, right at the very top, you've got the union government or the central government. You can think of this as the main boss for the entire country. They're based in New Delhi, and they handle the really big picture stuff that affects everybody. Things like national defense, the railways, and managing the country's money.
All right, coming down one level, we get to the state governments. India is divided up into states, kind of like different regions, and each one has its own government to manage its own business. They're the ones in charge of things inside their state, like the local police, buses, and public hospitals.
And that brings us to the level that's closest to all of us, the local self-government. This is the government for your actual city, town, or village. They're the ones who look after the problems right there in your neighborhood. So, for example, the central government might create a big health program. The state government figures out how to run it in the hospitals, but it's the local government that makes sure that clinic in your village is actually open and working.
And that's the whole point, really. This third level is all about putting power into the hands of the people. It's about giving communities a say in how their own towns and villages are run. So, let's take a closer look at what that actually means.
So what is local self-government? It's actually pretty simple. It's when the people in a local area, like a village, get to elect their own leaders, their own representatives to solve their own local problems. It's democracy in action, happening right on your street.
Now, local government isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It looks a little different depending on where you are. It's split into two main types. You've got urban, which is for towns and cities, and then you have rural, which is for villages. For our trip today, we're going to head out to the countryside and focus on the rural side of things.
All right, so in rural India, this system of local government has a special name, Panchayati Raj. Now, I know it might sound a little complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really cool, and it's been around for a very long time.
Let's break down the word. Panchayat literally means a council of five. And for centuries, that's exactly what it was. It was a tradition where villagers would choose a group of 5 wise elders to settle arguments and make decisions for the whole community. It's a system that's built on local knowledge and wisdom.
Okay, so the modern Panchayati Raj system has 3 layers, or tiers. At the very bottom, at the foundation, you have the Gram Panchayat, which is for a single village. Then, in the middle, there's the Block Samiti, which looks after a block, or a whole group of villages. And at the top of that local structure is the Zila Parishad, for the entire district.
And that is exactly where we're going to zoom in our focus today, on the Gram Panchayat. This is the most basic unit of government for just one village or maybe a couple of small ones. This is where the real day-to-day action happens.
So, you might be wondering what's on a panchayat's to-do list. Well, it's a mix of some really important essential stuff and some pretty fun things too. It really does cover everything from making sure the water taps are working to organizing the annual village fair.
Let's get down to it. If you were elected to the Gram Panchayat, what would your job actually be? Well, the work is pretty much divided into 2 types of jobs. Things you absolutely have to do, and other things that are really great to do if you have the time and resources.
First up, the must-do list. These are the compulsory, non-negotiable jobs. A panchayat is responsible for building and repairing local roads, wells, and drains. They have to make sure there's clean drinking water, run local health centers, support the primary schools, and generally keep the village clean. Oh, and they also keep the official records of all the births and deaths.
And then you've got the nice-to-have list. These are the optional jobs, and this is where a panchayat can really make village life even better.
They could decide to build playgrounds for kids, set up TVs or radios in community centers for everyone to share, organize cattle fairs in village markets. They can even run classes for adults. It's all about building a stronger community.
So, after hearing all that, you can probably see why this system is so important. I mean, why is having a government right there in your own village such a big deal? Let's do a quick recap of the main takeaways. Here's the final summary of why panchayats are so awesome. First, they let people solve their own daily problems. It teaches everyone in the village how to cooperate and work together. It acts as a training ground for young people to become future leaders, and it helps villages become strong and self-sufficient. Really, this whole system is the very foundation of democracy in India, built from the ground up.
And that brings us to the end. But now, I have a question for you. I want you to think about your own neighborhood. It doesn't matter if you live in a village or a big city. There's a local government working for you. So what's one thing, just one thing, in your community that you think a local leader should fix? Have a think about it. Thanks for joining me.